Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time. Fearscape Paranormal Podcast, part of the Fearscape Media Network. Prepare to be spooked. New episodes every Wednesday on all major podcast platforms. Find out more at fearscapepodcast.com.
Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basements may contain graphic, violent, vulgar, or explicit content not suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement Book Club. I'm Anna.
I'm Lindsey, and we are finally on this book club episode.
Not even that. We are over Zoom or the universe or the internet's bullshit. We have been trying for the last good 3 to 5 minutes to make this episode start.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
First, on my end, I was perfectly clear, but Anna was freezing. But on her end, it was the opposite.
Yeah, you sounded like a fast-forwarded robot. It was
you
crazy.
Froze like this, which you all can't see me, but she looked terrified.
I always either look really bitchy or scared. I don't know what my problem is.
Those doe eyes.
Yes. It's like, help me or fuck off. I don't know. Either which way.
While I have like a lazy eyelid, so I just look like I'm so over everyone's.
I actually have a lazy eyelid. But I constantly keep my eyes wide. So I
raise
don't
the eyebrows.
Yeah, so nobody knows I have like a sloppy eye.
I never noticed, and I've learned thanks to the inverted filter on TikTok, which is the devil. I'm very asymmetrical. Like, I hate it.
I usually make my TikToks when I'm drunk. So
I don't make very many TikToks, but what it is people will be like, this filter is how other people see you, and people cry because they're like, the first time I realized I'm beautiful, and I did it. I'm like, oh no, I'm so sorry to anyone who's ever seen my face.
Well, don't be, because it's gorgeous, but that's funny. TikTok's just an asshole like any other camera.
All you listeners, you're beautiful, whether you're asymmetrical with a lazy eyelid like me, or the epitome of, like, say, Jensen Ackles, whose face is like perfectly symmetrical.
He could be a Disney prince. He could be a Disney prince. I mean, just damn, he's beautiful. He is not even just like pretty. He's like princess pretty. It's problematic. He smells minty. Lindsay's not being weird. She literally has hugged him, so she would.
And
know.
It was really funny because I had like a cold or something. This was long before COVID date. So you still went to things when you had light. I think I had like laryngitis or something. I couldn't
you
talk.
did because you couldn't talk.
But so I couldn't smell very well, and everyone was like, "God," and like, but he must have been chewing gum or had a mint. But I still remember that hug.
I've seen photos, no offense to your husband, of you hugging your husband, and you look happy. But you look stoked when you hugged him. You were like giddy as shit. And I was like, well then. But that's the same face I would make if I met Jensen Ackles or Kevin Smith. Oh, Lord, someone have to peel me off the carpet. I'd pass straight out. I always make the joke that I would like totally leave my husband for Kevin Smith.
See, that's Jensen Ackles for me. My husband knows. I know that both Kevin Smith and Jensen Ackles are both happily married men. So we would never step on that.
They have beautiful families.
Oh, and for the record, we're happily married women.
We're happily married. We have beautiful families.
We didn't say that.
But in an alternate universe where I'm single and they're single, and it's like they're just dudes walking down the street. Oh, Lord, it'd be gangbusters. It'd be over.
Yes. So
But
that
what
little
the fuck were we here to talk about? Oh yeah, book.
the book. I don't even remember how we got on this.
I may have started a new ADHD medicine, so I may be a little scatterbrained. I'm currently drinking wine.
Oh, really? I have some herbal tea
yeah.
here.
I mean, you can't tell because it's in my handy dandy 2 cups only exist ever Ghost in the Axe Bison Basement.
With our lovely typo on it.
It does have a typo. Listen.
Which makes it more special because we are the only ones who will ever have a cup like that.
No shit. And I'm drinking because it's a Yeti that I repurposed when I made the cup. Yeah, I make cups. I take photos. I do a lot of weird shit, guys. Okay.
Talented. Y'all know this.
It's not talent. It's ADHD craft syndrome. I swear that's a thing. But because it's a Yeti lid, like only certain size straws will fit in it. And the only one that fits is a metal straw. So no one would know. Who's going to know?
Who's going to know? No one's going to know.
After this glass, everyone's going to know.
But it's a special episode. We can be as random as we want because this means nothing.
It does.
It's a bonus episode.
It's a bonus episode. Bonus episodes are just random fun shit. You know what time it is here? Dark 30.
Right.
Bullshit. It gets dark at it's okay. So maybe it's going to rain. I'm not a fucking weather person. Although my last name used to be Weathers, like outside.
You just lost your meteorological powers as you changed your name.
Pretty much. And all the little kids in school used to be like, can you change the weather? No, fucker, I can't. If I could, I wouldn't be freezing in December. Being nice and warm like they are in Florida. Although I don't want to be a Florida person. No offense to Florida. I've just heard too many instances where people get bit by alligators or they have pythons in their pool.
Alligators alone makes me never want to be anywhere near Everglades, Louisiana. I'm sure even East Texas.
Probably. I mean, so, okay, when I was a kid, this is totally random and I apologize. When I was a kid, we used to go to this fair, not a fair, flea market, whatever. People sold shit, including animals, as in crocodiles or alligators, like babies. Yeah, it was the 90s. It was.
What makes me think? Did you ever have that storybook, Zach's Alligator? Is that what it was called?
I don't know. Maybe
it's a storybook. I think my kids have it somewhere, but I grew up with it. And it's like this kid's uncle from Florida sends him a keychain, but it's like a real alligator.
Oh shit!
And like he takes it around to the park, and the whole time, like even today as an adult, when I read it to my kids, I'm like, was it all his imagination?
I hope.
So he like takes it to the park, is drinking out of the water fountain, like and shit. I probably have the details a little bit wrong. I know the water fountain.
Well, I was getting to Oklahoma has alligators and sometimes crocodiles because they used to sell them at the fucking flea markets back in the day. There was like no regulation, or they were just doing a super illegal shit. I don't know. I was a kid. And I used to hate going to the flea market because there were alligators and shit there. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Snakes, spiders, like people would sell tarantulas, pythons, and alligators and crocodiles. Or crocodiles. I don't really know. I
mean, considering we're in the United States, I would guess alligators.
Yeah, probably. I was really little, so.
But in your head, it was probably like everything.
It was a lot when I was little. I was probably like 7, Landon's age. It was weird. And I just remember not liking it. Well, growing up here and then moving away and then moving back, like going through like different news articles and shit, people will randomly find in our lakes and streams crocodiles, alligators, whatever. I don't know.
I always hate the videos after like when there's hurricanes and other things that cause flooding and you can just see like alligators and stuff in people's streets. Oh my gosh, I would die.
Oh, fun fact. It flooded, not my house, but like in our area earlier this summer. And I'm sitting outside smoking a cigarette. Yeah, I'm a bad influence, guys. Don't be like me. And so I'm smoking my cigarette. And the next thing you know is I see going down the like carport area right past my car is like this little bobbing little wiggly thing. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I turned my flashlight on. It's a fucking snake.
Oh.
A snake was just cruising down the water, just woo, fun times. I was like, I'm going inside. I'm done with this cigarette. I'm done. I'm going inside. I got a vape in the house. I'm gonna go in there where there's no snakes that I know of.
You know, when I was a child, I used to have these recurring nightmares. I had a couple of different recurring nightmares as children, and it was always like, or as a child. It was always
As
like
children.
Yes, as a children. I used to be multiple children, but no.
Are you talking about you or your personalities?
But no. Like they'd be like different dreams, but the same thing was happening. And one of those, which is not the one I brought up, but like since we're on the subject, I used to have this recurring dream where I was on this street in my hometown that used to lead to where my granny and granddaddy used to live. And parade of Dr. Seuss creatures.
Oh shit.
Imagine my sheer shock and almost fear going to Universal Orlando and seeing the carousel of Dr. Seuss creatures. I was like, oh, this is that dream. Oh my gosh.
It's real.
And
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that was a terrifying experience back a couple of years ago, my first time going to Universal. Anyways, but I used to have recurring dreams where I'd be like getting out of the car as a child and the entire driveway is just covered in snakes.
Nope. Yeah. I'm good.
It was awful.
So I have a couple fun little random tidbits about childhood and weird shit before we get into the book, because what are we here for? Our fun personalities, of course. No, we're here for the good stuff. But before we get to the good stuff, here's some better stuff. Okay. So when I was a kid, there was this dog and it got rabies and his name was Lucky. Okay. Sad story. They had to put him down. Not at a vet. This is country life. Lucky got shot. I'm super sorry to everybody that's not. I didn't do it. I was little. But this is where it gets fucked up. I go out to the garage where we have a freezer, like a deep freeze, and then we have a refrigerator where all the pop was stored. Funny fact, I turned into my aunt because I have a pop fridge out in my garage too. It's weird, but I digress. So I go outside and I leave the kitchen into the garage, and the next thing I know, I'm running inside, slamming the door, and I'm screaming, "Lucky's alive! He's in the garage!" And no one would believe me. They all told me that I was lying, that I was making it up, because they shot the dog and buried it.
This is some pet cemetery shit.
The dog didn't die.
Oh,
it still had rabies, and it was trying to eat me in the garage. I was so terrified. I was, oh my God. And they believed literally anything that came out of my mouth after that instance, because a dead dog tried to eat me in the garage at 10 o'clock at night when I went out for ice cream.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
We used to find tarantulas and stuff in our house because country life. I got stung by a scorpion, not once, but thrice. Thrice, I tell you.
I've asked you thrice for scorpion sting.
3 times in the same spot. And that was super fun because in case anyone doesn't know, they like to hide in warm or cool places. So warm places aren't really their thing. They like to go inside and hide under your sheets. So shake out your your sheets before you get on your mattress, and look under your pillow, because when my biological mom was a kid, she stuck her arm under a pillow once and there was a fucking snake under there. Yeah, because her window was open. Fuck that noise. I have looked under pillows and blankets my whole life.
I don't blame you. That was one of my fears moving to this area. I'm sure there's scorpions everywhere.
Probably.
But that was a much more common thing. But ironically, when I used to live in Fort Worth area, one of the little suburbs of Fort Worth, I was actually tarantulas is how I became friends with one of my really good friends, Rhonda, because our kids were in the same kindergarten class. So we had at some point exchanged phone numbers, and then one day just out of nowhere she texted me and was like, "Do you get tarantulas?" I was like, "What?" No, that was a thing. But I did actually end up getting tarantulas. Remember House of a Thousand Creatures?
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently those are common there, and I never would have known. But hey, it brought me Rhonda, so hey, shout out to her.
Hey Rhonda, hey girl. No, legitimately hate creatures. I like my pets well enough, but they're my pets and they get on my motherfucking nerves. Like my children do, right? Because they're yours. Your husband will drive you crazy, but he's yours, so you keep him. Cool. Well, I'm not a big like other people animal thing like most of the time because like a lot of times like I don't like to I don't know be jumped on with muddy paws and get clawed up and it's just not my thing. I like to dress pretty. I'm kind of a preppy bitch. You wouldn't know it from like talking to me, but I do dress very professional mostly because of my work.
You'll have seen our Instagram.
Yeah, also because it's fun to be fancy. Okay, I want to be gossip girl. Like just saying, but I digress. So I go over to my friend Kristen's house. Hi, Kristen, love you. And she's got like 1,000 animals, all different kinds. She had a potbelly pig. It was so cute. It passed away though. It was really sad. And then she had like a room, and I'm not exaggerating, a room of tarantulas, spiders, and lizards.
Lizards I could get.
No, like big lizards, not little lizards, like big lizards. I'm like,
oh, so I was gonna say my 10-year-old's been asking for a leopard gecko, and she kind of moved on from that because now she wants some sort of tablet to do digital art. But...
oh yeah, tell her the tablet all day. Also, I would like to point out that Jillian really wanted a hedgehog. Do y'all know how expensive a hedgehog is? They are fucking pricey.
My brother had one at one point.
Well, your family really loved him because they are not cheap.
Well, I mean, at that point, I was already adult and gone because technically stepbrother, and yeah. I guess,
but you get what I'm saying? Like they're like hundreds of dollars.
I believe it.
They're considered an exotic pet though, and like we don't have an exotic pet doctor. We have farm animals in my town. Like we have a farm vet.
Right.
We don't have exotic animal vets in my town. You know, I'm probably straight up fucking lying. I've never really looked into it. I mean, there might be somebody.
Let's be real. You're from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic.
Oh my God. I literally know someone who used to work for Joe Exotic. And
I think we've talked about that on here before.
If I have, I'm so sorry to repeat myself, but it's so funny that I know someone. And then my brother, I was telling him how I knew a guy that was like married or engaged to the girl that I worked with at the pawn shop. And he was like, oh my God, I wonder if he knows so-and-so. And I was like, why? And he goes, well, they knew Joe Exotic too. I was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, that kills me.
You know
also,
that
there's going to be a Tiger
I was about
King
to say
2.
Tiger King 2 comes out like this month.
I'm excited. I'm so stupid, but I am. Me and Candace, I've told her already. I was like, do you like Joe Exotic? She's like, yes. I was like, do you like Carol Baskin? She's like, yes. I was like, do you want to watch Tiger King 2? She goes, can we drink? And I was like, duh. She goes, then yes. I love Candace. Candace is my favorite. I call her Candy Cane because her middle name is Kay. Candace K. So I call her Candy Cane. It literally has nothing to do with the other, but I just find it amusing. My brain likes to give people nicknames. I'm weird.
Okay. So other subject, because that's how our brains work.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. If we don't start talking about this damn book, we will never talk about the damn book.
I wasn't even going to talk about it. No. But it's a little bit more on topic though, because at the time of listening, this episode comes out a week after, but in recording, we recorded our last episode earlier today.
Yes, we
and
did.
So last episode, which was just earlier today for us,
but
I covered black-eyed
children. For you guys.
Right. I covered the black-eyed children.
What?
I was home alone when I recorded that. That's important. Okay. Other than like my dogs. But anyways, so I'm sitting here like unloading up the dishwasher, and suddenly my 3-year-old goes, the scary black eyes. And I just turn and wait, what? And she goes, Anna says that because she's obsessed with Frozen, and Anna does say, wait, what? But I was like, okay, yeah, she does. What did you say? And she's like, first she's
nothing.
Like, nothing. What do you? And I was like, no, you said something about eyes. What did you say? She's like, those scary black eyes. I was like, how do you know? Like, what?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna need you to be more specific, child. What
I was like,
eyes?
What are you talking about? What scary black eyes? And I'm sitting here like, oh God, the black-eyed children got to her somehow.
Right? They're at her school. That's where they breed them.
She was flipping through a book, and it was like a spooky themed Paw Patrol book, and there was like a spooky painting in the background, and like it was like a dog, but instead of it being like detailed eyes, they were just black.
So
but because
it was
no, I didn't read the book to get the context because it's a new book, so we haven't read it yet. But she knew that the book was like supposed to be like quote unquote scary, like Paw Patrol age scary. And so everything was just this spooky thing, this scary thing. This is so creepy. And so I don't know if it was supposed to be scary or not, but I about damn near had a heart attack.
There's fucking black-eyed children and fucking demon dogs and Paw Patrol.
Okay, so they have like, they have like the police officer and the fireman. They have the paranormal investigator pup.
Oh my gosh, Scooby-Doo meets Paw Patrol.
What would its name be? Because there's Chase, the cop, Marshall's the firefighter, Sky's the one that flies in the sky. I don't know. We'll have to think on that on a paranormal investigator pup.
Ghosty?
Parapup?
Parapup?
Oh my god, I froze in the most unattractive way.
Yeah, straight up that nose. No shot. Yeah, did we mention that Zoom hates us? Because it does.
Yeah. I don't know. Technical difficulties. But hey, this is a book club.
Yeah, hey.
That's
books.
our segue.
Speaking of Paw Patrol, what about books?
We have been talking about this book for 2 months now.
They don't need to know how long we've procrastinated.
But, so I'm sure you all have loved the rambling, but if you're ready for the book club part and you have not read the book is Little Darlings by Melanie Golding. Pause right here, go read that, and then come back.
Well, I say go read that. Go listen to it on Audible. It'll be a lot faster. It's like a 2-hour read. It was a really good read.
So I'm going to read the description so we know what we're getting into here in case anybody hasn't. In case, like, maybe you just want to listen to this and you don't give a fuck about the book.
I mean, there is people who hate reading, but they don't like audiobooks.
So they might like our commentary on it.
But they might like listening to us. I don't know. My husband doesn't read anything but news articles. He's weird.
I was going to say, or maybe they're not the type that's like, use spoilers and then it'll intrigue them to go read. So, this is the description off of Amazon. Mother Knows Best takes on a sinister new meaning in this unsettling thriller, perfect for fans of Neil Gaiman, Grimm's fairy tales, and Amy Molloy's Perfect Mother. Everyone says Lauren Tranter is exhausted, that she needs rest. And they're right. With newborn twins Morgan and Riley, she's never been more tired in her life. She knows what she saw that night in her hospital room. A woman tried to take her babies and replace them with her own creatures. Yet, when the police arrived, they saw no one. Everyone from her doctor to her husband thinks imagining things. A month passes, and one bright summer morning, the babies disappear from Lauren's side in a park. But when they're found, something is different about them. The infants look like Morgan and Riley to everyone else, but to Lauren, something is off. As everyone around her celebrates their return, Lauren begins to scream, "These are not my babies." Determined to bring her true infant sons home, Lauren will risk the but if she's wrong about what she saw, she'll make the biggest mistake of her life. Compulsive, creepy, and inspired by some of our darkest fairy tales, Little Darlings will have you checking and rechecking your own little ones, just to be sure.
Oh, I love that book. I know nobody likes spoilers and stuff, and like we're cool with that. So if you want to take a break and come back to us, it's on Audible. Last time I checked, it was free. In addition to that, if you prefer paperback books, I'm sure you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you name it. It's a really excellent book. Lindsey, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
First and foremost, I am very glad that I came across this book now while all of my kids are older, because I think I've mentioned on another episode before about the book Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk and how I have not been able to read it since I had kids because it freaks me out.
Right.
It's a very similar, I think that this would have had a very similar effect because a lot of the things that does get into the start of my notes on this book or whatever is a lot of what Lauren is going through is postpartum anxiety, depression. More so anxiety, but
and at some point it becomes psychosis.
Allegedly.
Well, they believe that.
Because at the end of the day, because that's the whole thing that I was trying to like allude to we've brought it up in our past episodes, is the whole book, you're not really sure what to believe. Because you start out full-heartedly believing Lauren, and then once you get the more quote-unquote like logical people in, such as her husband, her doctors, her friends, like all that, you're like, oh, it is just postpartum anxiety. But then there's a secondary character who detective. Her name's Detective Harper. I don't remember her full name.
Is it Valerie?
I don't remember, to be honest.
I don't know, honest. It's been a few months since I've read this book.
Oh,
Joe Harper. Yes, I think so.
yes. Okay. But she,
Why I went to Valerie, I don't know, because it sounds pretty together. I don't know.
right? But first, just sidebar about Detective Harper. I have in my notes written that she makes me think of a human Judy Hopps.
Yes.
Described as like being small and athletic and bouncy. Like, well, they don't say bouncy, but
No,
I
that
just,
would be
I'm just picturing this human version of Judy Hopps, and a lot of it is how she, when she believes something, she sticks to it and fights for it.
Absolutely.
Which I loved her character. But anyways, the point of why I brought her up, as far as like trying to figure out if you should, then she'll see something, think something completely unrelated to Lauren's stream of consciousness thoughts. And so then it's like, okay, maybe it is real.
Right.
And I don't know. It's one of those like, is it or isn't it?
Yeah. I was about to say, is it or isn't it type of situations.
Also,
And that's why I really enjoyed the book, to be perfectly honest, because it's a different type of thriller, in my opinion.
exactly. Yes. That is a perfect description, because I mean,
It's a paranormal thriller.
right. And like right there in the description, it tells you her babies do get taken. So that's not a spoiler, even though if you're listening this far, you don't care about the spoilers. Her babies get taken. So it's not this big shock. Although, to be honest, I had forgotten that. So I was sitting there, oh, look up and her babies are gone. What? The whole thing.
Oh, if I'm really honest, I did not even listen. I didn't even read the description before I read the book. I just was like, that sounds kind of cool. Little Darlings. I was like, wonder what it's about. It said, if you like Neil Gaiman, and I was like, oh, fairy tale.
Right.
Listen.
Right. I do that a lot with books, because even though it's right there in the description and not technically a spoiler, I feel like it's a spoiler. And like,
Yeah.
if I have just nothing to go on, I'll read the back. But if it's like, say, for example, like the book I'm listening to right now on Audible, which is not one of the books, I came across the author on TikTok and she kind of just briefly described it. And I was like, I don't really know fully what this is about. Bye. With my Audible credit. And it's really good so far. That's Iron Widow. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the author's name, because I will butcher it. I don't want to do that.
That they can Google's it.
It's like one of like the best sellers or something. But
Oh,
anyways, yeah, I just came across her on TikTok.
Woo woo.
Anyways, back to Little Darlings. We'll try to stay on one topic today. This is more like what it's really like talking to us, by the way.
Yeah, no, the first like 45 minutes of us just rambling is like our conversation.
On the daily.
We forgot you were listening type shit.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we're recording. We're gonna keep it all in, so you all just have to deal with us.
Well, I mean, okay, time out, sidebar. If we're going to talk about that, we haven't really talked much lately, because the other day I had Friendsgiving and like you went hunting and
yeah, and I got my dog. He's been off at training. It's now
he had the dog. He was just out for training.
he got to come home after
another puppy. She just has the 3 dogs, not like 17. Could you imagine? But like, it's one of those things where we haven't really had a chance to just sit down and catch up, because I had to work. I work Monday through Friday, so we don't get to talk until I get off work, and then before her husband gets home. So that's like a brief little, like, well, I say her husband, our husbands get home around the same time.
That, and once they're home, even like regardless, it's not like we're not allowed to talk. That's just the busiest time of night. There's dinner, there's kids homework, there's kids in bed. Like
work, there's family time. We respect each other enough to not interrupt that.
Right.
So that this is our first time really to get to catch up since it's Sunday, and we're just like, oh my God, blah, 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 about everything, So we apologize for our obnoxiousness, but if you don't like us by now, why are you still listening?
Yeah, true. Very true. Imagine this being the very first episode to anyone here.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
You'd be like, why do people listen to this? But anyway, So back on subject. So yeah, they're very much, is it happening? Is it not happening? And the whole thing that's happening is Lauren just had her twins. She thinks that there's a woman in the bed next to her, but it ends up being like this creature-like woman who's trying to take her baby.
Old hat almost.
Yeah. And what is it? Changelings. That's what the whole story is. Changelings.
So the woman next to her is the changeling's keeper or their mother or whatever. And she doesn't look like a changeling. Like changelings look like someone you know. So she doesn't look familiar to Lauren. She just looks like a woman that's kind of beaten down and worn out.
Smells
and just
bad and
smelly and just kind of almost what some would describe a homeless person to be like
right.
Just tattered clothes, etc.
And she's the whole time talking about how she wants her babies to have a better life. And so she'll just leave them with Lauren and take her babies.
Throughout the entire book, it's a did she see this woman type thing. There's another thing that goes on in the book that I want to bring up real quick is the potential infidelity of her husband.
I have it written here in my notes, and it specifically says, Chapter 12, I had a bad feeling about him. Not in the supernatural type of bad, but he's giving me bad vibes. And then guess what? I was right. He's a piece of shit. Her husband, Patrick, piece of shit.
Twins, they have to deal with the fact that, she's pregnant, she's tired, like she's anxious as fuck. She's got a group of mom friends who are also pregnant, about to be first-time moms like her. And homeboy over here is just like, I gotta work late. I'm tired.
And then you see from the detective. Oh, but actually, let me just touch on that what you just said. That I'm gonna sleep in the other room. He's so tired from the babies crying and her waking up to feed them because they're breastfed that he has to go sleep in the other room so he can actually sleep. Fuck you, dude. And she even begged. She was like, the doctors say I need more sleep. Because the whole time her doctors are like, you're just having a mental breakdown because you're not sleeping.
And they're
like, you need to rest. So he's like,
the doctors told her and him that she needed more rest. And that's why she was hallucinating in the hospital.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He sleeps in another room and allows her to do all of the housework, all of the baby tending.
Like literally everything by herself, and then judges her.
We're not exaggerating. It's
literally the way it is.
He's written to be a really bad husband.
Yeah, and then you come to find out because so then the detective's trailing them. I like how this is just turning into us explaining poorly this book. So the detective's trailing him because something just feels off to her about the whole situation. Because what happened was when she was in the hospital and she sees the woman with the babies or whatever, she locks herself in the bathroom. She calls emergency services. They're like, oh no, the security in the hospital is already taking care of it. But something feels off to her. She has like a really, really strong, which I kind of wish they had like fleshed out a little bit more. I feel like it could have gone somewhere like supernatural with that. But
well, even not if it was supernatural, the intuition that she has proves how good she was at her job, and they could have touched on as opposed to her fucking superior being a dick to her because she was investigating this further.
Yeah, well, it does do a good job of talking about how a lot of departments, because this book takes place in England, right?
England, yeah.
It takes place in England, so it doesn't matter what country you're in, the government is worried about money spending. And the whole time her supervisor is like, we don't have the budget to be investigating this anymore. The hospital said it was taken care of. It's taken care of. She's like, no, something's not right. She starts to investigate into it. So part of her investigation, she calls the husband, figure out like what's going on. Or he sees him with another woman.
And
they
she's with a lady that she finds attractive that happens to be a reporter in her car outside her job.
Yeah.
She's stalking this guy or going undercover, whatever term you choose to look at, because she's not allowed permission. So in a sense, she is stalking him, but in her eyes, she's going undercover to figure out what's going on. And
Oh, because
this
Lauren's
woman,
also like receiving gifts on her porch and shit. And so she's like, I'm being stalked. Something's wrong. Like that lady's gonna come and get my babies.
yeah,
And it turns out the weird gift was from
present that covered in what, urine?
No, I don't
something?
remember about that, but it was like a very disturbing baby mobile that was like rats and stuff.
Covered in rats. It was fucking weird.
Yeah, and it turns out that was from the other lady, like the mistress.
Must have been from the lady that he works with. She's crazy. No, she's not crazy. You have 2 girlfriends and you're fucking crazy.
But also, let's just say, because he was like, oh, she's just this weird girl from work who's like disgruntled or whatever. But then he had told her, my wife, I'm only with her because I'm her caretaker. She's so mentally unstable. I'm her caretaker.
Not even just that. I love my children, which he doesn't show in the book at all.
He can't even tell them apart.
No.
Which I don't have twins. I don't know how hard it would really be.
Not fraternal twins. So the fact that they're identical means you literally have to like tie a bow on their fucking outfit.
The way Lauren does it is color coding. One wears one color, one wears the other. And I know it's green and yellow.
Asshole. He can't tell their babies apart. So he goes, well, I guess this one's going to be this kid from now on.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Oh, so but then
and she called him out on it. He was like, no, you're wrong. Like he gaslit the fuck out of this lady.
Also, I would like to point out that his whole she's so mentally unstable stuff and like saying that's why he basically divorced and whatnot and cheated. He's like, oh, we're not even really married anymore. Care of her. But also it's his excuse for what she's going through. And and it made me so mad. Y'all know how we feel about mental health issues. It made me so mad. He went on and on about how she went through a depressive state after her mother died. And she had to get put on antidepressants. And like, oh my God, like she was just so miserable.
And how embarrassing it was that his wife was on antidepressants after someone she loved so dearly passed away.
Because first of all, you don't have to have something traumatic happen. Depression, it's literally chemicals in the brain. But also, imagine your spouse feeling that way about you after your parent died. Your parent who you were close with died.
In my head, he got so, in lack of better explanation, disgusted by her in her lack of capability to function after her mother passed away, that he went out to find something new and shiny and pretty and healthy.
Yeah, probably.
I don't even remember his name. I just remember he's an Patrick. Blech. I don't like him. Yeah, Patrick's a piece of shit, for lack of better explanation.
Then fast forwarding the plot or whatever, we had mentioned earlier her group of friends, how she has like a due date group, and they all like went to
mommy yoga or
something like that, and they stayed in touch, and that's when you see that she is in fact dealing with like postpartum depression, anxiety, whatever, because her friends come to see her. She hasn't reached out to them, but I have to point this out. I didn't judge her for not reaching out because one of them had her baby and she never even acknowledged it. And they're like,
didn't acknowledge either baby being born. She didn't acknowledge the presents that they had gave her. They got
worried and checked on her.
She checked way the fuck out, and they took no personal account of like insult, and they made a point to check on her. And when they came over, like disheveled and messed up house
was a mess. Yeah. And they were just like, and they were like, well, maybe it'd be good for you to get out of the house. We're going to the park tomorrow or whatever.
She had been with those boys for a month or so.
I think it was about a month. She had never left the house
at all. They were ordering takeout or ordering their groceries, or poor Patrick had to do something. I don't know. It aggravated the fuck out of me. His character did. And he was like, well, I think it would be good for you to get out and go to the shops and go to the park and stuff. And I mean, yeah, it would, but he didn't acknowledge how hard that was for her. And that really upset me.
And so I was really glad she had supportive friends for that. But then every mother's nightmare, and her nightmare, the whole reason she had never left the house, because her whole thought process ever since the incident in the hospital with the changeling was, if her children are ever out of her sight.
The whole important part. when she was receiving the gifts and opening all the presents, they thought that she saw a woman in the bushes, the same woman from the hospital,
Right.
which is why contacted the detective in the beginning. After the initial incident where the detective followed up, she thought she saw the woman in her house, or not in her house, at her house, in the bushes, then across the street, everything. So keep in mind all of this, and that's one reason why she is terrified to leave the house, because she thinks that woman is out to get her, like that woman found her at home.
Oh, I just remembered. There's also, and we mentioned the friends brought gifts, and she did. One of the gifts that the friend brought had an old antique book inside of it, and after the friends left, she flipped through it, and it was all stories about twins and like them being killed and changelings and all these like horrifying things. And she was like, why would she gift this to me? And she asks a friend about it. She was like, why would you give me such a horrible, terrifying book knowing I was already scared? And she was like, what are you talking about? So like she didn't even give her that book.
No, someone else left that book, if there was even a book to be given, on her doorstep.
Yeah, but it ended up in the bag, because if you remember, the friend was so like everywhere trying to take care of her, get her new baby out of the car seat or whatever, that she couldn't even figure out where the gift bag was.
Yeah.
And I think Patrick had to go find it on the porch.
Yeah. So the book that she initially tried to give her was not the book that she received.
Right.
The book she received was horrifying.
Yeah.
And completely terrified her.
But then after no one else believed her and she was like gaslit fuck up by her own husband, she did actually get brave enough to read the book, which then told her what she needed if she did get the babies or whatever.
Do you know what that is, friends? Would you like to know?
Well,
she has to drown her children.
But we haven't gotten to that part yet, though. But anyways, so she finally gets out of the house. I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. She finally gets out of the house. Her friends invited her to the park. Every mother's worst nightmare. What happens? She's enjoying her day at the park. Her friends go home and she's like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. This is exactly what I needed. I did need to get out of the house. They were right. I'm going to go for a walk. And it was a walk that she took all the time before she had her babies.
Her mother died. She started taking up walking as a form of exercise and a way to clear her head.
She hikes up to this beautiful view. She always stopped to like look over before she hikes back down or whatever. And hey, remember that whole bit about she's not sleeping and her husband will not let her sleep. She fell asleep.
She sits on a bench, and it's in a shaded area, and she puts the what is that called? The carriage beside her. That's what British call a stroller, right?
Ma'am.
I'm sorry to any British listeners. I'm so sorry. She puts the carriage beside her, and she sits on the bench, and she just relaxes, and she ends up falling asleep.
Because she's sleep deprived.
Yeah, she's terribly sleep deprived. And when she wakes up, her babies are gone. The carriage is there, but the babies
it's not. It's not there.
It's not.
Everything's gone. Everything's gone.
Everything's gone. The carriage is gone. The babies are gone. Okay, take all the supernatural changeling lady weird shit out of it. Could you imagine falling asleep on complete accident, sitting down, pass out, wake up, your kids are gone?
And on top of that, you've already been dealing with postpartum anxiety for a month. No one is doing anything to help you other than saying, get out of the house, it'll help you. You finally get brave enough to get out of the house, and that's what happens.
I would lose my mind.
Yes. And so, of course, there's this huge search and rescue trying to find the babies. And who do they find the babies with?
She called the detective.
Yeah.
While all this chaos was going on, like, my babies are gone, help me type thing.
Because the detective the entire time is the only one who thinks she might really be telling something. She is not thinking changelings, but she's like, there is something going on here. I believe it. And then they do the search, and the detective and a couple of other like police officers are going through the whole area, which is actually really prominent to the plot. It's around a lake that's there's been a drought, so like the water lines lowering like lower than it's been in years.
And guess who has the babies, y'all? Guess. I bet you can't figure it out. Oh, I'll tell you. It was a fucking.
Did you guess the mistress?
The mistress had the babies.
And so of course they're freaking out. They're like, I knew it. Because the whole time that's who the detective thinks the creepy woman she's seeing is. She's like, it's the mistress trying to kidnap the baby. So that way, for God knows why, to somehow get to, because he had broken up with her or something. So the whole thing is like the spurned ex-lover, right?
Yeah.
And so, and she swears up and down she did not kidnap them. She found them. She heard all the hubbub. Like, she probably stalking Lauren. She kept denying it, but she was basically stalking Lauren, I guess, to see like what.
Be in the same exact park she was at.
The one time she's gone.
And then she just happened to come across the babies in the pond.
But or in the lighthouse.
Lighthouse?
They were like, the stroller was like parked in the lighthouse or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was in the river.
She was in the river because she was pushing the stroller back and got caught in the mud. That's when they found her. That's how I knew the stroller was still with.
I remembered water. Sorry.
Yeah, that's where she's found, is in the water. But she found the babies in the stroller, and she's trying to bring them back for help or to get help. Allegedly, and everyone's like, "Nah, you fucking keep stalking ex's wife. See what the big deal is because left you behind." Blah 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 blah. She was just returning them, or do you kidnap them?
See, that's where it gets to be the gray area, because when the babies are returned, they don't look like her babies anymore.
They
and
do,
so me,
but something's off, which is what changelings are.
First, Laura is just relieved that her children are back. And then the more she investigates the children, because she goes all over those kids, like up, down, and sideways, making sure they're okay. And she swears that something is wrong.
And that's why, like, on the description I read, it says she starts screaming, "These are not my babies." And what they don't tell you in the description is, because she read that book, like we mentioned earlier, she goes running to the river with the stroller. She's about to put those kids in the river. And so then she gets, they're like, oh my God, she's trying to kill the baby. She's in this like psychotic break. And she gets put in a hospital. And the whole time.
Yeah. Institutionalized. And then her husband gets custody of the children.
And then he has to bring them to her.
Won't let her see the babies. He's all against her even having contact with them.
Is it safe for them to be around her and all this stuff? But then this is the part where I was like, this is, I believe Lauren is when they're at the hospital and they're having supervised visits, detectives there, and even she is noticing something's off with the babies. They stare for too long. They're not blinking. If you're not looking at them, they're like doing this weird singing type thing. Or it sounds like it, then you turn and look and they're just making normal, or they make like bird noises too.
Yeah, she said they didn't latch the same way and stuff like that. Like they weren't feeding the same.
And they didn't make normal like baby sounds. It sounded like birds.
Yeah.
And it's just like a bunch of stuff that's off that Lauren's not the only one seeing it. The detective's seeing it too.
But at the same time, I wondered if the detective was trying to save her job by not advocating more for Lauren.
Well, I'm sure, because she had been threatened multiple times. If you're caught working on this case again, you're gone.
But it was funny how her fucking chief praised her for being the first one on the scene.
Found the babies, yeah. Ugh.
Politics, law. Anyways, the husband's a piece of shit. At the end of the book, I mean, you really despise him.
But also, I have to say, okay, I do not, for the record, I do not advocate if you are an inpatient care saving up your pills for any, especially not to drug your nurse.
No.
Or to blackmail your nurse and to seek out. So I in no way advocate that, but this is a story, and that's what she does. She first blackmails her nurse to throw away any negative notes whenever she accidentally slips up saying things like she thinks her babies are changelings. And then she drugged, because the nurse ate her food that she didn't want to eat. She was like, oh, you don't want your pudding? I'll eat it. And so she slipped her pills into it. Nurse falls asleep. She sneaks out because she's like, that book said, I have to return my babies to the river, or its babies to the river, and I'll get my babies back.
Yeah.
And so it's like this huge adrenaline of this part of the book, because it's Lauren sneaking out, and then it switches back to the detective side where they had to hurry up because she escaped and she kidnapped the babies, and like, what if she hurts them? Oh my god. And they figure out this is where she's going. She's got to be going
To the park.
river. Because that's because she tried to do that before she got instituted. And like the adrenaline, I can't describe it. Like, that's why if you haven't read it, you have to go read it just for this. It's like one of those things where everything's moving so fast, but everything's moving so slow. And she's going into the river with her babies. And as far as everyone else knows, she's about to fucking drown them.
Yeah.
But in her eyes, it's, I'm gonna.
Her saving them. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. And so then there is that moment she puts the babies in water, and you're, oh god, like this is all over. Like, what if the entire time she was wrong?
Poor Morgan and Riley, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, and imagine, we've already talked about like the lady in white stuff, where a lot of times in the situations with the, like, especially the one on Supernatural and stuff, is like her babies are dead, and you know,
right.
Supernatural, she killed her babies, right? She drowned them, right?
Yes.
And so it's like that does happen, and it's tragic. And then you're seeing it where here's this woman who thinks she's saving their lives, but then she's technically drowning them. And then the whole time, from Lauren's point of view, there is like that weird song that they keep started, like the lady was singing horrid lullaby or whatever.
It was a horrible lullaby.
I can't remember the words of it, but it was disturbing.
I don't want to remember the words of it.
I have to say, one of the bonuses of listening to this on Audible is it does do voices. Anytime the Changeling Mother is speaking, time they're referencing like the little song and stuff, there's like this filtered voice.
It's almost
like, it's eerie.
It's hissing almost.
Yes. It's very eerie. So that alone, it's worth listening to Audible on it. Oh, we forgot to mention that the reporter lady who got on my nerves so much, by the way.
Okay, so time out for the reporter lady. The reporter lady knows that detective lady is a lesbian. No shame, no harm, no foul.
She leads her on.
She leads her way the fuck on.
To get inside information.
And like, she's only pretending to be interested in her for information, but the detective didn't tell her. I think her name's Allison. I'm probably
I have it in my notes. Amy.
I was so close. So she doesn't tell the reporter lady, Amy, that when she was a teenager, she also fell pregnant and she gave her baby up for adoption.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
So she relates to this woman who's,
that's why she's so connected to it.
Pregnancy and everything else. And she wonders, like you hear her ponder throughout the book, what would my child be like? What would they sound like? How would they be? You know what I mean? So it's
the
like,
thing with Detective Harper is she was raised as her child's sibling.
Yes.
And that whole time she's dealing with the maternal loss. She carried and had a child, but then she lost that child. So she relates majorly. Go on.
She knows how the child became, but she doesn't know who the child would be if it was her child.
Right, exactly.
Not her sibling.
And like, so she suffered a similar loss, and that's what she kept like writing off. This is only weird to me because I relate to it or whatever. And it's like, no, I think it's weird to you because it's changeling. You know what I mean?
Right.
It goes back to, is it real? Is it not? But that's why she related so case, because she understood the loss that Lauren was feeling.
Detective Harper is a shining star in the book.
I loved her. Detective Harper and Lauren are like, I like both of them. Everyone else was kind of eh.
Everybody else was kind of shitty, and that's where, except for the friends. The friends were
good. But they were kind of minor characters.
They were very minor characters, but they were gold star in my book because they cared.
Even though they were hurt, like they had said that they were upset that she hadn't said anything, and she didn't even realize that they had their kids because she gave birth before they did. But They didn't hold it against her. They just acknowledged, like,
No.
hey, that kind of hurt. Like, you didn't even say anything. Like, what's wrong? Did we do
Are
something? And
you
she's like,
okay?
oh. She's like, they're like, you're not even responding to our group chat anymore. We're very worried.
At one point, Lauren even says, I don't remember the last time I looked at the messages.
Right. Like,
or something along those lines. And
right, but
it's
they
just like,
recognized that there was a problem, even though, like, I can't remember because there were friends. One of them was already like back to dressing normal, putting on makeup, like all
the one
that.
looked so put together,
And
and she was so confused how she could be a brand new, less than her age children mother and be so put together and so poised, and she felt like such a disheveled mess.
Right.
And
I liked
that way they painted the picture, you know?
right, because the friend, I can't remember like what the friend said about it or whatever, or if it was just Lauren's internal monologue. But as a reader who is also a mother, both after each of my children, like I felt different after each one, after giving birth. And also just even now when they're older, see how I run my life versus Joe Schmo down the street runs her life with her kids, and like, oh my god, like she's got it all together or whatever.
Look at me and you are each other's soul sister, made of stardust, made to be together.
Right.
We don't parent the exact same way. We parent very similarly, but not exactly the same way.
Right. And it's like
everyone's
it was a nice illustration, especially dealing with everyone's experience. Just because your friend is out there with her clothes on and her makeup on, it doesn't mean you're failing, that you're in the same sweats from 2 days ago with breast milk all over yourself.
Or Chinese food in your hair or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't, no one who is truly your friend should talk bad about you or think bad things about you or say bad things to you.
Right, exactly. And so her friends definitely get a gold. But the whole reason,
but I feel like they were very important characters.
They were very important, if only for a reader who just had a baby.
Yes.
You know? But going back, Amy the reporter and Detective Harper are like she's like, hey, I'm not officially on this case, so I can't use police department sources, but I can get information from the skeevy reporter. And so like they go through and get with some people that are a little bit more on the sketchy side of things to like look into things such as
guy's house, and it's all sketchy as hell, and he has people,
and it's like, a dude she's arrested before.
Yes. And they have people sneak out while she covers her eyes and pretend she's
that way,
not
like right, like off the record, no one was here type deal. But they go to clear up because they get the audio tape of the 999 call, and she wants to clear it up because something's wrong. And same with the security tape from the hospital, because there is like a glitch out or whatever. And like, so they take it to this tech guy that the reporter knows, who Harper has arrested for issues. Kind of just like, hey, this is off the record. No harm, no foul. Like, let's just. And
I'm not here. You're not here. We're not here. Let's do this.
Right. Like, I'm not a detective. You're not a criminal. I have previously arrested. I just need your. But that part really got me on Lauren's side, because they clear up the tape and in the background somebody's saying the names, which we had forgotten to mention earlier in the book that she got. The names, or the changelings were named Bishop and Silvar or something like that.
I believe so.
And they were like named after the rivers. Riley and Morgan.
Yes, they were named after her. And her children were Morgan and Riley, so they weren't the same names.
Right. And
that were
you
being
can
whispered.
hear those names. You can hear those names like on the tape, like in the background after they like put it up and stuff. And so to me, I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, it proves it. This is 100% legitimate. For some reason in my notes, okay, this is what I have written, okay? Because I got chills at this part, the part where they hear the names or whatever. So I was like, it's real because that's the names that she thinks these babies are. And the whole idea is that it's like where the two rivers meet or something like that is where you're supposed to. I don't know. Something along those lines.
Where the two rivers meet is where you're supposed to look like you're drowning children, but you're just sacrificing them to their.
You're sending them back home or whatever.
To send them back home, and they give your babies back.
But then it says the whole idea that it's coming together, that this did in fact happen, as Lauren described it, is up to Joe figuring out the details with this, which Joe's Harper, and with the previous twins' mother. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention this happened again the last time there was a drought and the river receded.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
I did too until I just read it in my notes. So it's happened again, which is another thing that's like, it's okay, maybe a minute, but everyone's like, no, this is just coincidence because the mother from that original time had dementia, so they couldn't really speak with her in great detail about it. But she also said Bishop and Selvar.
She was very sing-songy when she would talk about it, and she talked in rhymes and riddles almost.
Right. And but then her sons all, no, you have to, like, this is not healthy for her. That was just a horrible time in her life, leave her alone. And so like they have to like give that up, but it stays in her mind obviously. And so then she's hearing these same names on this call, so she's like, something's not right. And leading up to that point,
Joe Harper,
yeah. And so the whole time, so like now that they've heard it, I'm like, okay, now we're sure it's happening. It's not just Lauren going to breakdown. Then in my notes I wrote, or not. Then it says, I'm not convinced it isn't real, but I don't know why I suddenly said or not, because I did not write.
Right. It's very much a mind fuck. This book is a complete mind fuck. And that's what's fantastic about it is it's the fairy tale element with true crime brought in to make it a paranormal thriller. And it's so fucking enticing.
Oh, but at the end, after she drowns her children, comes back up, they're normal. Like, it is her children again.
Yeah, they're completely fine.
Which brings me to my final question. Do you think they were changelings, or do you think it was her postpartum anxiety?
Okay, see, that's a hard one because there was so much evidence for both.
Mm-hmm. But you just, a personal opinion, what do you feel?
I think they were changelings.
I think they were changelings.
Because the audio, the video, and just the fact that she was so adamant they weren't her children. Right. I think they were changelings.
I think they were changelings. There was too much stuff that other people witnessed and wrote off.
But I will say that they paint a very excellent picture of mental health.
And the stigma of it.
The wrong way and the stigma of it. And that it could be perceived as a woman who lost her mind after having children because of lack of proper care from her fucking husband, Patrick. But beyond that, postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis and postpartum anxiety are all real conditions. And you really have to get them treated, because if you don't, dire things can happen. Not will happen, but can happen. Have happened in the past. And it's very traumatic and heartbreaking and horrible. And I don't blame the mothers who are dealing with horrible things for the horrible things that happen, because they're in a mental psychotic break.
Right. And I feel, go on.
That being said, it's not the same as the paranormal side that they portray it to be. Both are valid options. I don't think in the real world, in the real realm that we live in, that paranormal things like changelings are real.
Right.
God, that would be horrifying. However, in the realm of the book, it was a real factor between the creepy pissed on mobile the creepy book that she received instead of the one that her friend said she was giving her, and
the fact that it happened before.
The fact that it happened prior to 40 years before to another woman. It's all too coincidental that I can't believe it was just postpartum psychosis. I believe it was a changeling situation.
And here's the thing too that I feel that the book does a really good job with painting the picture of the mental health stigma is because she had once dealt with mental illness. She had been on antidepressants after her mother died, regardless of why she was on it. Because she had dealt with that, she was automatically written off. And that is a real struggle for people.
Listen, I wore makeup to my doctor's appointment and they questioned me about my pain level.
Yeah, it's a real issue.
It is a real issue. And like, pro tip for anyone who's dealing with mental health
or chronic illness
or what the fuck ever. Don't go to your doctors with fake lashes, your nails done and everything dressed to the nines. Like, no, go in there looking a hot mess because they don't believe you. And I just chastise me if you will. My doctors in the past have not believed me, whether it be urgent care, the ER, or a primary care physician. If I dress nicely and look quote unquote healthy.
Right. And so all around, it does paint a really good picture of the real stigma, but also it brings up a good point, whether you believe it's changelings or not, postpartum anxiety. I feel I may have dealt with postpartum anxiety after I had my first child, and I did not know because it's actually very much like what Lauren went through, where all she did day in and day out was take care of her babies. All she did, she couldn't clean, she couldn't cook, she couldn't go grocery shopping. All she did was take care of her babies. And so when I had my first child, she was in and out of the hospital a lot. She had some health issues. Fine now. So I was really scared.
I want to take a moment to note that we celebrated her 1 year hospital-free anniversary.
Which, by the way, just passed a few days ago. Now it's 10 years.
10 years hospital-free minus her fucking broken arm or wrist or whatever.
She's never been hospitalized. That was just...
No, that was just a fluke accident outside of the hospitalization. That's the only severity that she's had.
Yeah, so that's amazing. But when I had her, especially with the health issues, of course, like I'm sitting here, I'm watching her like a hawk because she would stop breathing.
What were you, 19 or 20 when you had her?
21.
21. Okay, yeah. I was so close. Yeah. You were very young in the realm of childbearing. Not so, the young, obviously, but very young. And your husband was also young. He was in the military. Your child was born with health issues. You were away from all family members, his side and yours, by more than 1,000 miles. It was a very traumatic incident that you went through.
Right. And so it was very much all I could do was take care of her. And I didn't realize that because when you go to the baby checkups and they do the mother emotional checklist to make sure to see if you have any red flags and stuff, I passed them all with flying colors.
I mean, nobody wants to admit that they have problems.
Well, no, I passed all of them because it's like, do you wish to harm your baby?
Oh no, of course.
Because like it's very common issues with postpartum depression, but I was passing all of those. All I wanted to do is take, and it wasn't until I had my second born child and things were easier, despite suddenly now having 2 children.
Yeah,
things were easier, and I could still put her down for a nap and go do all the dishes or like whatever. And then I was like, I was not okay after the first baby, but I had no way of knowing.
With our seconds, it just seemed simpler.
Right.
Not like we have all the knowledge in the world because we've done this shit before, but because it wasn't as, I don't know.
In my personal experience, I feel I was dealing with I don't think when we had our first children, postpartum anxiety was really talked about. It was postpartum depression where you wanted to hurt yourself or your child.
I talked about when I was pregnant with Jillian, I went to a doctor. I was in rotation at the very end of my pregnancy where I had to meet all of the 4 doctors in the practice because any of them could deliver my baby. Well, I met this lady called Dr. A. Dr. A was a psycho bitch and I fucking hated her. And I told her, I was like, I think I'm depressed. She's like, maybe you need to, you know, quit thinking about yourself and think about your baby. And I was like, oh my God, I'm being so selfish. No, I wasn't being selfish. She was being a horrible doctor at that point.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that because I was a whole like 19 years old.
Right.
When I was 19 and I was terrified, completely fucking terrified. And I didn't have any support but my husband, really. And I mean, our families were fine, but they weren't like, whoa, baby, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
They were okay. But at the end of the day, it was me and him against the world. And I had an extra person that I had to worry about because it was inside of me and he didn't have to deal with it yet because it wasn't outside of the womb.
Right.
And to say all that, she dismissed my anxiety and my severe depression because all I did that pregnancy was fucking cry.
Yeah.
I cried all the time. I sent my husband a text message at work one day and I was like, the only reason why you're with me is because I'm pregnant. Keep in mind, we didn't have a shotgun wedding. Whereas Rose Nyland would say a blow. We didn't have any of that. We got married. We decided we wanted to have a baby. Then we tried. It didn't take all that long. And we were pregnant with Jillian.
Yeah.
Everything I do is planned out. I am OCD to the max. I am a type A personality. No one can argue me. Like I just, that's who I am as a person. I'm type A. I'm OCD. I have to plan things or I lose my fucking mind. Right. No way either of my children were an accident. Both were severely planned. And beyond that, when I told the doctor that I was struggling, it's, you shouldn't be so selfish. Don't focus so much on yourself. That really fucked with me.
Right.
And I related a lot to Lauren in the story because of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
If that makes any sort of sense. Like I related all of that to say, I related to the character in this book I found on Audible for free because she was dismissed constantly when she was concerned about being upset or depressed or anxious or whatever.
Exactly. And a very big reason why she was written off was because of her history with mental illness. Because
she had a history of mental illness. It's like, oh, well, she must be crazy. Or you're an asshole and you should help her.
Yes. So all around, this book paints a great picture of that. It paints a great paranormal thriller. Like, oh, it is seriously a fantastic book. I can't say that enough.
If they were to make a secondary to this, like continue on and make it a series, I would read it.
Like another similar. Oh, I just remembered. I didn't have it in my notes, so it just popped in my brain. I know I said my final question and everything. We were about to wrap up, but I just remembered after, because when she has the babies underwater, like I said, it goes really fast but really slow at the same time.
Right.
You don't really see what happens with switches to the point of view of Detective Harper, and she has dived into the river and is swimming as fast as she can, trying to save the babies. She finds a fucking skeleton holding 2 babies under the water. I could be iffy on the holding 2 babies, but I feel like that's exactly what happened.
I feel like that's what happened too.
And so that potentially leads, they tried to investigate more into it because they're like, well, this is now a crime scene, but then they ended up shutting it down because it was so old or whatever. Because the whole thing we forgot to mention earlier is the river, there used to be a village there way back in the day and the river overtook it. But when the droughts come, part of the town kind of like the steeple of the church or whatever resurfaces. And so I personally that as that's the changeling mother and the babies.
Yeah.
Can't believe I forgot about that.
Or if it's not the changeling mother, it's another one of her victims.
It's another woman who lost her baby. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I forgot it all too. But like I said, it's been a few months since we've read the book.
But obviously, it stuck with us well enough. My notes are pretty slim. I remember enough. Like, I truly enjoyed it.
It was a really good book. I did not take notes. I should have. But I really enjoyed the read, and I enjoyed the ride the author took me on.
Yes.
And I enjoyed the Audible version of the book.
The narration because of the effects and stuff.
Narration was so on point.
Oh, and we forgot to mention it just as far as like the structure of the book. Littered throughout, like at the start of chapters and stuff, they'll have tidbits from like Grimm's fairy tales and stuff about changeling stories.
Other people, like, it's so good. They'll have quotations from other narrations.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. Highly recommend it. We are in no way affiliated with Audible, Melanie Golding, nothing. We just came across this book.
But if anybody wants to throw us money, we will not say no.
Right? So we have Audible subscription. Give us some credits and some books to read, and we'll do it on the book club as long as it falls under paranormal or true crime. We'll cover it.
Okay, friends and fellow listeners, are you ready? Are you ready for our next, hopefully not takes 2 months to record an episode book?
But the holidays are coming up, so don't hold us to them.
Right, like holidays. All right, so without further ado, our next book will be...
Drum roll.
I can't do the drum roll sound. There, that's the best I can do. It will be Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Flynn, however you prefer your name to be pronounced, Miss Flynn. I am so fucking excited. I've read this book. I've listened to it on Audible. I own the DVD. It's phenomenal. I can't wait to re-listen and just relive all the gloriousness that is Gone Girl. Lindsey has never
I was about to say, then there's me. I've never read the book. I've never seen the movie. I only know what Anna has told me.
It's one of my absolute favorites. I read Gone Girl because Ben Affleck was going to be in a movie. I was like, okay, I'll watch that. Then I refused to watch the movie until I read the book because I'm a diehard weirdo like that. I read the book, fell in love with the story. And it's not a love story, guys. No. It's fucked up. Let me just preface with it's fucked up. And if you don't like fucked up books, you will not like Gone Girl. Then I watched the movie on my 26th birthday. I got it for a present and then we watched it. It was phenomenal. And I have listened to it on Audible once. I will listen to it again. I will take major notes. I will watch the film and we will come back with an epic dialogue on Gone Girl by Gillian or Gillian Flynn. However she prefers her name to be pronounced because it starts with a G, but it's Gillian, which if you say it that way, it sounds Gillian. But I've also heard it pronounced Jillian, like the G is a J. So I don't fucking know. I love the book. I love the author. I've read everything she's ever written. It's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. And to say that I am a fan is an understatement. So look forward to epic notes, epic dialogue between me and Lindsey. And I hope you come in for the next episode. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hello.
Hey, Anna. Is that a new outfit? You look super cute.
It is. I just went to this really cute store in town called Mainstream Boutique.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome store. It's like my little hidden secret. It's locally owned by a really wonderful woman named Kim. She's the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. It's a women's retail boutique that offers a unique selection of clothes and apparel and accessories for all generations. So teenagers to 20 and up. It's magic. I mean, we've talked for years about what do we wear? I don't know what to wear at this age. I don't want to look like a teenager. This store is the store that has changed my outlook on how I appear as an adult.
Oh, that's so cool.
You
said it's a local store?
Yeah, it's local to Shawnee, Oklahoma, but they do ship.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to get on that website. What's their website?
Their website is mainstreamboutique.com. They also have a Facebook page, which is Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. They're a apparel and accessories for multi-generations. Their mission, which I really stand behind, is to empower, strengthen, and celebrate women in the world throughout fashion. And I think that's so...
Oh, I love that.
And
I'm going right now to check that out, especially if they ship. That's awesome.
it's mainstreamboutique.com or Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. We'll put all the links in our bio, but I have an exclusive for you guys. Are you ready?
What?
I talked to the owner today. For our listeners only, you get 10% off your full ticket items.
Oh my God.
All full priced items when you ring up, 10% off, whether it's online or in person. And if you go in person, tell them we said, hey, they said to use the code GABB for a discount code. And if you use our discount code, you get 10% off all full price items of your entire ticket. How cool is that?
That is amazing. I can't wait to go check it out.
Well, the next time you come visit me, we'll have to have a shopping spree.
I'm in.
GABB is your promo code.
Thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement, a Fearscape Media podcast. Music by Stephen Timperley. Artwork by Laura Ramsey. Find us online at fearscapemedia.com/GABB podcast, or on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GABB podcast, or email us gabbpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.